This episode of Dorking Out is brought to you by Elsinore Beer. Beer so good, it's addictive.
And the letter M, because you can't spell Met Gala without M. Hey, Smith, aren't you so excited about going to this year's Met Gala? It was so nice of Dorking Out Productions to get us tickets. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
Sonia, we don't have Met Gala money in the budget. We don't have insulin money in the budget. And I really need insulin. What have you done, Sonia?
On with the show!
Sonia, what have you done?
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM.
From Assignment X, Amalgamated Storytelling, and thesoniashow.com, it's Dorking Out with Sonia Mansfield and Christopher Allen Smith.
Welcome to episode 45 of Dorking Out, a podcast for people who like to dork out about stories and the stories and culture that we love. That means movies and TV, books and podcasts, and everywhere else that we find stories that interest us. This is the Handmaid Summer Movie Preview Edition. With me today is my co-host, professional writer and author of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield.
Hey there.
Hello.
With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and nerd author, Christopher Allen Smith. In this week's episode, we're getting ready for the biggest movie season of the year with our summer movie preview. Wil Wilkins from the NetHeads podcast on the Smodcast Network will be joining us as we share the 3 movies we're most looking forward to this summer. In our second segment, we review the 10-part Hulu miniseries, The Handmaid's Tale. We will try to make the conversation fun, because what's not fun about a 10-hour miniseries about a future in which women don't have rights, right?
Right! There is a secret game that you can play with this miniseries that makes it fantastic, but I'm going to wait until the segment before I tell you.
Is it a drinking game?
No. It's a head game, but it takes the sting out just enough to make this horribly depressing dystopia manageable.
Well, I find drinking helps. And finally, we will end our show with what we're dorking out about this week, including the Gong Show and the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why.
But before we move on to the rest of the show, we have an announcement. You, yourself, sitting right there, listening to this podcast right now, you can get your very own topic right here on the Dorking Out Show. Simply go to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and in the review, give us the topic you want us to discuss, and we will stutter our way through it. No. Now, you know you want to be a part of the show. You know kind of what we talk about, pop culture stuff and stories and all that kind of thing. So please try to show a little bit of restraint with what you ask us to talk about. But we're committing right here to discuss your topic regardless of what it is. So get to iTunes, get to reviewing, and we look forward to having your topics on shows coming up.
I want somebody to say that they want us to share our most embarrassing stories.
Oh.
That would be so fun. Or just yours, actually. If you could someone could give a review and ask for Smith's most embarrassing stories.
I'll tell you right now, my 5-star raving review of Ang Lee's Hulk would go on there, but I am not embarrassed about it. I still say it's correct. 10 years later, time will bear me out, but enough about that.
Do this for me, people. Do this for me. Leave a 5-star review and ask to hear Smith's most embarrassing stories.
On with the show! So that brings us to topic 1. The Dorking Out. The official. Hold on, I can make this longer. Just give me a second. The official summer movie preview from Dorking Out with special guest person, Wil Wilkins. Oh, wow.
I hope I'm a person.
I hope you're a person too, Will. I think I like your chances. Let's just see how this works out. Anyway, next weekend begins the first Friday in May. Traditionally is the start of the summer movie season. that means it's high time for us to look forward to the biggest movie season of the year for a certain kind of genre movie fan, two of which host this podcast, one of which is guest hosting right now. Of course, the anal retentive folks among you may take offense at the idea that summer begins May 5th rather than June 20th. And to them we say, we're sorry, we don't make the rules. Hollywood makes the rules, and because of their need to make bone-crushing summer movie money, summer starts now at the beginning of May. Joining us today is Wil Wilkins of NetHeads, of the NetHeads podcast on the Smodcast Network. He, Sonia, and myself will each pick 3 movies we are most looking forward to. Mostly. I say mostly because we've set up our list so we don't repeat, so the movie that I most might want to see might actually be on Sonia's list or Will's list or vice versa. Of course, the movie Sonia most wants to see will probably not be on my list for obvious taste reasons. But
nice.
more than that, is it my bad taste or your bad taste? We'll let the audience decide. But more than that, we are going to dig into the less virtuous side of summer movies. We're going to try to anticipate the coming train wrecks. There's always at least one, and usually in the summer, especially in the summer of 91, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of them. Anyway, point is, we are going to straight up steal an idea from one of our favorite pop culture podcasts, the Pop Culture Happy Hour, and give movies we think are going to be the biggest bombs in addition to the ones that we're very excited about. Not just creatively, but financially. Chaos and havoc all the way around is what we're looking at with these movies. But that is a long and rambling introduction.
Very long.
Very rambling.
Very rambling.
I think there might have been a couple sentences in there that didn't even really end. But having said all that, Will, when you think of summer movies, what do you think of?
Wait, we're going bad first, though, right? That was what we just discussed.
We could when you think of the summer movie season, what comes to mind? Let's ease our audience into your melodious voice with your thoughts.
Oh, it's tentpole. All the big movies until you're going to get every single movie that every single studio is banking on, except for what they're holding back for the holiday season. It's just tentpoles. It's superheroes. It's breakout hits. It's underdogs that overwhelm. It's overdogs that underwhelm. It's everything.
Dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats living. Oh my God. Mass hysteria. How did that happen just now? I'm terrified. I got goosebumps.
One of my favorite summer movies.
That's right. That is right. That's right. 2016's Ghostbusters was one of Sonia's favorite movies. But
it's so good. I watch it all the time.
We don't need to rip open those wounds. Will, as our guest, I would like to hand you the honors of giving us either your first most anticipated movie of the year or of the summer, or if you'd like, what you think is going to bomb and, bomb.
I'm going to go with the bomb first, only because you mentioned the term train wreck, and I would have predicted that movie to be a bomb, and it wasn't. However, the star of Trainwreck, Amy Schumer, has a movie coming up with Goldie Hawn entitled Snatched, and I don't think anyone's going to want to go see it.
I think you're right, because I'm actually a really big fan, and I'm like, pass. I think I'll pass. I don't think it looks very funny.
Well, I don't think anyone's clear on what it's about, other than it seems like they're in a situation that's trouble. Goldie Hawn is Amy Schumer's mom, and it appears that Goldie Hawn is always confused about what's going on. That's all I can tell from it.
I saw a preview that was 100% like from the brothers' point of view. Have you seen that preview?
No.
Who is it? It's like Ike Bernholtz or whatever, the guy who's on the Mindy Project.
Oh, wow.
It was like, him like calling like the cops and being like, do you have like some sort of A team to go in and like save my... He was the star of the preview I saw.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
what is this? And it was for Snatched.
Yeah.
So I don't, they're doing one of those things where they're throwing like everything out to see if something sticks that'll bring anyone in to come in and see it.
Well, and it's the same reaction. Sorry. There we go. It's the same reaction. It's the same reaction I had when I learned that there was going to be another Richard Gere movie this year. I'm like, oh, wow. People want to see a Richard Gere movie?
Is there going to be another Richard Gere movie? I know he's been doing a lot of straight-to-video stuff, but now I'm actually kind of... Next saw here, there's going to be another Richard Dreyfuss movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Is it the one with the Steve Coogan?
Might be. All I know is I saw his name and I was shocked.
Wow.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's my prediction. I think Snatched is going to be, and I think it's one of the ones that's coming out sooner than later. So it's probably going to be like, at least, if nothing else, maybe the first bomb of the summer.
I think you might be right. And one of the things that I saw or thought when I saw the previews, like there's the preview, there's Amy Schumer, and then I hate to say it, I don't want to be ageist or fall into the whole Hollywood ageist thing, but I thought, wow, Goldie Hawn, that's really reaching back. That's really...
That's appropriate. She's a
I
totally
guess.
appropriate pick to play Amy Schumer's mother. It's just,
Is
it
she?
doesn't look funny. It looks like one of those movies where they're like, we got funny people, so we don't need a script.
That's right. This seems like a comedy from 1993 in its conception and putting it together. I know they're on this vacation, and then a bunch of wacky guys with guns burst in, and everybody's screaming and yelling. It's one of those movies where, you can imagine the gunman going into the hotel room, and Amy Schumer comes out of the bathroom with a towel, and she starts screaming, and then the towel drops, and then the terrorist guy starts screaming, and then everybody's screaming, and it's funny because everyone's screaming. Now,
You just made me laugh thinking about it.
see, that's the thing, that's an awful, awful, horrible stereotype, but watching this preview, I have a suspicion it just feels like that kind of movie. The kind of movie where it's funny because everybody's screaming. But, yeah, no, so that is a fantastic pick, Will. What would you say is your most anticipated movie that you do want to see?
This one is a toss-up, and it's because one of them I wasn't even remotely aware of until the first preview trailer dropped. The second one is the one that I'm sure is on everybody's list, because I don't know anyone that didn't not like the first one, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I mean, come on.
Definitely.
I want to sit down.
Yeah.
I want to laugh. I want science fiction. I want comedy. I want everything. It's going to give it to me. I know it. I really fundamentally feel that there is no way they're going to screw this one up.
Yeah. Well, actually, you might know this more than I do. This movie's already come out overseas. This movie's already got a certified fresh 87 on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is already kind of in the bank. This is a good movie. Why are these Marvel movies, it seems like lately, they've been coming out a week or 2 weeks ahead of time or around the world before they come out here in America? What's the deal there?
You want to know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It is because of the international press junket. So what happens is they start on their press junkets, and this way they get to finish at home.
Oh, that makes
Interesting.
sense. So we get the stars of Guardians of the Galaxy when they're tired and irritated and just want to go home, and home is so close, but the press is just not letting them go there. So that's the thinking process behind this, I guess. Is that what I understand correctly? All right.
That's what I've taken away from it, because it always seems that we're like the final destination now for these. But then again, it doesn't matter. They're just printing up money. So good for them.
Can you imagine?
I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I am very excited about it.
I already have my tickets for Saturday. I bought them as soon as I could. I'm a big fan of the first one.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I think for me, and as a Star Wars fan, I feel kind of like a traitor for saying this, but for me, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the thing I look forward to the most. It is the most exciting thing happening in movies today for me. Kind of this almost seeing what Kevin Feige and everybody to think of how many different plates they're getting to spin and keeping them spinning, I'm just in awe of what they're doing. I'm super excited about it. So yeah, that is a fantastic pick. Sonia Mansfield,
Yes.
what is one of your most anticipated movies of the?
I'm going to start with my really obvious pick, which is Wonder Woman. I've been very excited for Wonder Woman since I saw the first preview. And of course, I'm going to pick it. I have to say, though, it was on and off my list because I was like, this is too obvious. This is too obvious of a pick. But I put it back on because I was like, I am really excited for it. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous because I feel like they're not marketing it as much as remember when Suicide Squad came out, I couldn't go anywhere without a Suicide Squad thing being in my face. And I don't think they're doing the same for Wonder Woman. And that makes me a little nervous. Maybe I'm but I didn't like Suicide Squad. So I was like, well, maybe it's because Wonder Woman's better.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think with Suicide Squad, that was a hard sell movie because it's dealing with a lot of characters you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman is, let's face it, in the DCU, she is one of the holy triumvirate, if you will. She is one of the religious three, the heads of the church, if you will. My thing about it, I'm looking forward to it, but like you said, on the nervous side, I'm worried that it's still got too much of that Zack Snyder influence because the DCU has just been so depressing.
Such a bummer. A
Yeah.
super bummer.
Yeah.
I get it. Super bummer. What was I going to say? Oh, I didn't even see Batman v Superman. And I hear that she's really good in that movie.
I got to be honest. Only good thing for her in those movies to me was her work. Especially whenever she shows up and they kick in with that Wonder Woman theme, that dun dun, it all comes together so well, and you're just like, if they can do this, if they can harness this for an entire movie, I'm in.
Oh,
well, the first preview for Wonder Woman reminded me so much of the first Captain America, and I'm a big fan of the first Captain America movie. I super love it. Something about it just really speaks to me, and I was hoping that this is basically going to be Wonder Woman, the first Avenger. I think because it's set in the past, and then it's going to bring her up to present time or whatever. But I'm really excited for Wonder Woman. I actually bought a Wonder Woman shirt, a t-shirt from a comic book store a couple weeks ago. And anytime I wore it grocery shopping, and I was stopped 5 times in the store by women going, "I love your shirt."
Well, I mean, we are in a woman empowerment phase. We have been. It's growing, at least among us liberals, weirds. But it's time, and I think everyone is ready to have a strong female superhero lead charging a movie. I think we're all ready for it, and
I'm
this
ready.
is just I just want it to be good. And the only reason why I say that is because I really want the DCU to have a solid win. I don't want them to just have a box office win. I want them to have a solid win. To get the same kind of buzz and the same kind of energy that we all had when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, for example. I want them to have that kind of win because I think it'll not only help boost the product, but it'll also help improve future products. And unfortunately, we just haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
No, we have.
I agree. I'm a defender of the Man of Steel, and I am a defender of or somebody that did like the extended cut of Batman versus Superman. However, I agree with an awful lot of the criticism and the tone of it. I don't understand. And Will, I think you're 100% right, is you can definitely see that movie change when she shows up. And one of the strangest things I think about it is, there's been this discussion for Marvel movies and also kind of the later DC movies is there's no great superhero themes. There's no, Superman's theme, Batman's theme. you can't hum Batman's theme from Batman versus Superman. But that Wonder Woman theme just kicks in, and it's just like punches you right in the face, and in this really wonderful, exciting way. And
because it has warrior tones. It also has kind of animalistic tones to it. So very tribal sounds, and you're like, oh yeah, come on.
Exactly.
Wonder Woman gonna kick some ass right now. That's what you just think when you hear that.
Exactly, which is so bizarre because then it's like, well, how come they obviously made a theme for Wonder Woman and they have two other superheroes right here in the shot with her? Where are their theme? It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so hopefully with Wonder Woman, DC can kind of right the ship, because I'm with you. I'm naturally, I kind of like DC's heroes more, but the execution of their cinematic universe is just baffling to me. But I'm going to skip on to one of my movies.
Let's hear one.
Speaking of baffling, when the first rebooted Planet of the Apes movie came out in 2012? When was it? It was a while ago. 2013? 2011? I don't know.
Which one? Not the one with Marky Mark.
No, the one with... No, Sonia, that would be silly to like that one. It's the one with James Franco.
Yeah.
Which you laugh at, but it was a fantastic movie. Like a really good movie. And then 3 years after that, it was... And I always get these two confused because they're reversed in the order in which their names are. I believe it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the first one, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was the second one, which takes place after, which they should be reversed. The first one should have been called Dawn. I mean, anyway, point is, the third movie in that fantastic, how it's confusing how good this, in this age of mediocre, warmed over reboots, how good these movies are. For me, the movie that even with Guardians of the Galaxy, even with Spider-Man, even with all this cool, even with Dunkirk, the movie I'm most looking forward to is War for the Planet of the Apes. Matt Reeves' new movie, speaking of which, he's going on to do the Batman movie. But this movie kind of takes place long after humans have lost control of Earth, and apes are kind of rising, even though they've been rising since the first movie. And this is the movie that this is the series that a lot of people thought Andy Serkis, who plays the head ape, Caesar, thought would be the first kind of digital actor to win an Academy Award, but he was robbed. Anyway, I am super looking forward to this. Woody Harrelson is in it. Steven Zahn's in it. I'm crazy excited about it, even though kind of on paper, every cynical movie-going film critic bone in my body is telling me not to trust it. They've established a tone and an approach to these movies that is so good. I'm very excited about it. What say you, Wil Wilkins?
I'm actually with you there, because Rise was the surprise movie for me. I'm like, why are they even bothering? Much like I wonder why they're doing this Amy Schumer Goldie Hawn movie. I wondered, why on earth were they doing this? Is this really the title that you want to reboot? But they did it in such a great way, and they made it a story that made sense with how the apes got more intelligent and how mankind's numbers dwindled. It was a perfect marriage in a new direction. I liked it. The second movie wasn't as strong, but it was still a good story, and it was told well. And it kind of addressed the way things do happen. First the apes were just trying to survive for themselves. Then they're in this new world, and there's dissension within their own ranks, which really kind of drove part of the story. And now we're just down to what is more than likely the final confrontation. And in this, it's like, man has just clearly said it's the apes or us. And you got Woody Harrelson just standing there shaving his head in front of everybody. I'm in.
Yeah, no, I am definitely in. Sonia Mansfield, I would ask you what you think.
I've never seen any of these movies. I haven't seen any of them.
So who cares what you
I
think?
can't. And
No.
well, I will say I think the preview looks really exciting,
So,
but I still won't see it.
all right, you know what? No, you are going to see it, and here's why. One,
No.
we're going to talk about it.
First of all, you're not the boss of me.
Two,
Second, I'm not going to see it.
Not in front of the kids.
No, that's the thing is our kids like it when we fight.
You already bullied me into seeing Fate of the Furious.
Bullied.
You
thing,
played
though.
your card for the year. Buddy.
No, here's the thing, and we have discussed this on a previous podcast, so I have you on a technicality. We have committed on this podcast. You're supposed to come up with 2 movies that I have to watch, so you have to watch these. Don't worry, these are good movies. That's the thing. These are good movies.
I don't want to watch monkeys die. I don't care about the people. I just don't want to watch monkeys die.
All right, no,
Come on.
I understand that, but this is going to be one of the biggest movies of the year. So point is,
and they're CGI monkeys, so don't worry.
That's right. CGI monkey, CGI bullets. It's all CGI.
Of course, Will comes in here and takes your side.
That's right. Well,
see how it is.
Because he's a man, and he
He always loves you. He loves you best.
I have never seen anything. I have never seen any of the Fast or Furious movies at all. So
you're so lucky.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it.
That one was so
actually,
bad.
that's not true. I may have seen the very first one. Come to think of it.
It was very different.
It's a movie.
It exists.
It's a movie, apparently. It exists.
All right, so audience, tweet us things that I have to watch. If Sonia's not going to fess up to it, Will, feel free on getting in on this. 2 movies I have to watch, so Sonia will watch the War for the Planet. Actually, 3, because it's going to have to be 3 movies. Actually, hasn't your husband seen these movies? Now that I think about it.
No, he saw the second one, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He liked it.
All right. See, trust. If you don't trust me, and you shouldn't, trust him.
I'm gonna find a really great trilogy for you to watch.
Do it. It better not be.
How about
The
Pitch
Hobbit.
Perfect? Have you seen the Pitch Perfect movies?
No.
How about that one?
I haven't.
No. Or Bring It On? How about Bring It On? Have
Nope.
you seen those movies?
Haven't seen any of those.
Okay. Well, there's the first Pitch Perfect, the first Bring It On. Done. You're locked in for 2.
Okay, hold on. So, are you serious? I will do it. I'll commit.
Well, I don't want to dictate Sonia's terms, but I have to say, if in hearing the concept of Pitch Perfect versus seeing Pitch Perfect, I never would have imagined it was a movie I would like, and I did like it.
I'm excited. No, see, that's the thing. I think. Wow, Pitch Perfect might be the Planet of the Apes type situation in reverse, because Sonia doesn't seem real thrilled with the concept, but it's a good movie, and and I'll admit, James Franco in a prequel to the Planet of the Apes, that just sounds insane.
Okay, you watch.
Okay.
You watch Pitch Perfect and Bring It On.
Okay.
And I'll watch Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Here's the thing. I'll do this for you. I'll watch them first.
No, I'm doing it for you.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay.
By the way, it's a point of contention in my house. I have not. I don't think I will ever not hear the end of it from my wife. The one day she came into the family room on a Saturday, and I'm watching Bring It On. Just
because it's a good movie.
It's all about the spirit stick, man.
Now
that's all I'm saying.
Now, point of
Jazz
contention.
hands.
Was she?
Oh yeah.
Was she disappointed in you? Was she happy? Was she irritated you started without her? Like, what was the point of contention?
Were you not
precisely?
Were you not wearing pants?
I was fully clothed. I may have even been under a blanket, but hands were on top. No, it was hilarious to her that she came in and I'm watching Bring It On. Thank God it wasn't during the scene where Eliza Dushku is trying on different outfits. That would have just been the end.
Ooh.
Right.
Oh, see, now he's in.
I said for no reason. All right. But enough about my predilection for Bring It On, Pitch Perfect. Will, what is your next movie that you are most looking forward to?
I'm going to go blatantly obvious again because I'm going to save the one that surprised me the most for last. But this is going to sound, I think, a little crazy, especially given the cinematic history of the character. But I'm really, really looking forward to Spider-Man Homecoming. And I say this because based on what I saw in Civil War, and now that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been able to at least have a creative hand in the character, I really think we're finally going to get a Spider-Man movie that we've all deserved.
My husband is downright giddy for the new Spider-Man movie.
Right? How could you not?
He loves Spider-Man, and he's like, I feel like they're finally going to get it right. Like the way the character looks, and just even that little bit that we got in Civil War. He was like, the tone seems really spot on. Like he's excited.
Got a Queen's accent.
He's into it.
So this is like the Batman Begins of Spider-Man movies? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't even know if it's that. I just think it's probably going to be the most screen accurate rendition of the character that we will possibly get. I don't know what it is. Tom Holland is charming. He definitely proved that he can deal out the banter really well. The very previews that we saw where, you guys aren't the Avengers. Come on. It looks like nothing but feel good. And then the thing that's messed up is we get all of these trailers, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the last one that came out, we find out that this big looking monumental looking scene where he's trying to use the webs to hold this fairy together, it looks like that's the conclusion of the first act. That's not even like the big part of the movie. I'm so in for this. It's not even funny. It really is. I think Sonia's husband is right. I think a lot of us hope and pray that this is really a Spider-Man that really matches the kind of tone and energy that we all have remembering him from the comics. Not necessarily him and his amazing friends, but more of the comic book Spider-Man.
Cool.
Yeah. That's what he's super excited about. He's a little nervous about the most recent trailer with how much Iron Man is in it. But I think that they're just showing you all the Iron Man that's in the movie in that trailer.
I think the only thing we're not seeing is the third act Iron Man.
Yeah.
Could be.
He's really it looks good. I'm excited for this one too. This could have very easily been on my list.
So Will, I got a question for you as somebody that pays attention to these kinds of movies. It's come out in the last couple months kind of what the setup is between Marvel and Sony. And Sony's made some announcements on some movies that they're making kind of within the Spider-Man universe. So my understanding is Spider-Man's going to be in the next two Avengers movies, and there's going to be two. The agreement between Marvel and Sony is Spider-Man will be in the next two Avengers movies, and then there will be Spider-Man Homecoming, and then theoretically a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming. And those are all the movies that are contained in this Marvel-Sony creative partnership. What's not... And
I'm sure... I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Real quick. No, that's okay. What's not contained is apparently this R-rated Venom movie that they're making, and then like a Black Canary or Silver something movie, which now that I think about
Silver something.
I
can't wait to see Black Cat and Silver something.
That's right. Which is also
Silver
not...
Sable.
Thank you. Silver Sable. Which is not connected to this Spider-Man. So Sony is kind of going the Catwoman route with three Spider-Man characters, and that they're making a sequel, or they're taking a character that should be in a Spider-Man movie, moving them out, and then pretending as though the relationship between Spider-Man and Venom and Spider-Man and Silver Sable and Black Cat don't exist. They're in their own little weird pocket universes. What is going on over there? What are they thinking, or what have you heard about why they're doing this? It just seems like such a crazy decision to make after digging themselves out of all the bad will that they created with the last two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I have to tell you, I don't know. And I think it's very funny when it all comes down to it that we actually have, of all things, the Seth Rogen, James Franco movie, The Interview, to be thankful for the Spider-Man that we're getting now, because it was the Sony hack that led to revelations that Marvel was trying to negotiate this Spider-Man deal, and then Sony headquarters came in and said, "Oh, guys, this is us being able to have a great product, not bear the most of the responsibility. It's printing money. Make the deal." I think it makes sense from a standpoint where they're trying to cash in on the superhero genre or kind of tapping into some of the Suicide Squad type business or energy. But I honestly don't get it. I'm not interested in seeing a Venom movie, at least not right now. There's not a lot in the character that I'd want to see. Black Cat is an interesting side character, but unless, in my opinion anyway, you were into the spectacular Spider-Man in the late 80s and during the 90s, there's not a lot of draw there. So I don't know what their logic is. It just seems like they want to throw money away. That's just me, though, because I have no interest in seeing those. And I'm telling you right now, I will eat my own hat, and I've got 4 of them. I'll eat my own hat if the Spider-Man deal doesn't get negotiated and continued, because it's nothing but a win-win for Sony.
I agree, and I'm trying to think of what it would be like to have a Venom movie without Spider-Man. Like, what would the point be? It would just be some blob monster. It'd be like watching a Blofeld movie without James Bond. It just makes no sense. There's no point.
You just right now there is a man sitting behind a computer typing down Blofeld movie. No James Bond. Now it's going to happen.
It's just okay.
Everybody wants that origin story.
Well,
Who
you know,
cares?
if it were.
Yeah.
If it were like the recent Venom story that was happening in the Marvel universe, well, by recent, I mean like 3 years ago. I haven't bought a comic in a little while. But there was this amazing story where Flash Thompson had lost his legs in service of his country. And then they had attempted to tame the symbiote that is Venom. And so he became this soldier of fortune for the government in attempting to maintain the costume. So it was kind of making Venom into a hero, but you know, there were also the tendencies of the suit to try and overpower the wearer, and that would be an interesting story. So if they went in that direction, I think could be good, but even that in itself isn't so much a Venom story. So I don't know where they're going. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. And don't you need the context of, we already know the suit, we already know the dangers of this Venom, or we already know the dangers of Venom, we already know the threats, so seeing somebody try to be a hero with that would be an interesting story, but that seems like the 3rd or 4th major story you tell after a villain or a hero has been established. Right out of the gate, it's just, I don't understand what Sony is thinking. It
sounds as crazy as trying to make a Green Goblin movie.
That's right. No, here's the thing. You say
Now
that
that's
like
gonna happen.
you say that
but
like
not
they're
connected
gonna
to
do it.
but not connected to Spider-Man at all.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
They're not doing that though, right?
Actually, it's a romantic comedy.
Oh my god. All right, Sony Mansfield, what's your next most anticipated movie?
This one is. I don't know if I should be embarrassed or not, but I am really excited to see.
I think you should be.
Cars 3. Cars 3 is a big deal in this house.
Oh, I gotta go.
Yeah,
Why?
I have a 5-year-old son. Super loves the first Cars movie. Loves it. He hasn't even seen the second one. I haven't seen the second one either. But he saw a preview for the third one. He's really excited. It's big deal in this house. So now I'm kind of excited. And I watched a preview, and it's basically a Rocky movie. Like, they even have him, like, racing on the beach.
It is Rocky 3. Yes.
Yeah, so it's Rocky 3.
Not only is it a Rocky movie, it is, I don't want to say shot for shot, but beat for beat, at least in the latest preview, it is Rocky 3.
Well, Rocky 3 is awesome.
It's
I
great.
look forward to it.
But Rocky,
I'm excited for Cars 3. I get it. Like, Cars is not up to Pixar's other standards. It's not an Inside Out. It's not Up. You know, it's not WALL-E. It's a perfectly fine animated movie. It's but my boy super loves it, and I've watched it a million times, and it's really grown on me. And so now I'm really excited to see the third one, even though I haven't seen the second one.
Look, I have to say, I can back you on this because I think the original Cars movie was entertaining. It was a great movie. And I'd say that too. I mean it. I enjoyed it. It had a good, solid story to tell. There were lessons learned. It was great. And I never want to rule out anything by Pixar, especially considering I never would have thought that Toy Story 3 would have the emotional impact that it did. So, I totally get it.
I still cry when I watch Toy Story 3.
How can you not? And the other thing too is I totally get the connection with your kids because like I had no interest in seeing Moana whatsoever. Didn't care. Didn't need to see it in the movie. No big deal. But watching it with my toddler and seeing how much she loves it makes me love it twice as much.
Right. Exactly. That's why Smith sees all the Transformer movies.
Oh, my God. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Sonia?
You love them.
I watch them, but I don't love them. It's my, you know what? I was thinking about it. Why do I feel like I have to apologize every time this comes up? Because I should. Anyway, it's my only hate watch. I don't believe in hate watching, but I've been thinking about this lately because there is another Transformers movie coming up. And it's like, why do I do this? Why have I seen every Transformers
Why are you
movie?
punishing yourself?
Why? Because I'm hate watching.
It's the same reason you slow down to look at a car wreck.
That's right.
Oh, look at the analogy. Look, I even made a parallel there, and I didn't even realize it.
Yes,
Aren't I clever?
That's right. You are very clever.
I've only seen the first Transformers, so I can't really comment. The only thing that I will say is it looks like somebody has somehow pulled back one of the weirdest storylines I remember from a cartoon in my childhood, where Optimus Prime was believed dead and then comes back and it turns out he's the bad guy. And that's what I'm getting from everything I've seen on the previews for this. Is that what is behind this?
Could be. I don't know. I truly don't know.
I have not seen any of these movies. And Smith, you cannot make me see these.
No,
I'm not going to see it.
Don't worry. What's hilarious about these, now that I'm thinking about it, is after the first one, I could not tell you at all what any of them are about. Like, if you were to say, what's the second Transformers movie about? I don't know. It's just it's robots fighting.
Just robots fighting.
It's robots fighting. What's the third one about? Robots fighting. What's the third one about? A couple weird, out of place, anti-gay jokes and robots fighting. That's all I know. It's weird.
Only thing I can remember of any of the Transformers movies was in the first one, essentially the Transformers peed on a guy.
That's true. Yes. Oh, no.
Popped out his oil cap and then...
Get it? He peed on a guy, but it's not pee, it's oil. Get it? Anyway. All right.
I get it. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. All right. So
Cars 3 was my pick. What is your next pick, Smith?
My next pick is a movie that I'm intrigued by, but I don't really know what to make of it. Will and I were talking about it a little bit before we went on mic, and it is The Dark Tower, written by Akiva Goldsman. Now, this is part of the reason that I'm interested in it is this was one of the most interesting unmade projects floating around Hollywood. I think it was about 10 years ago, right after Akiva Goldsman won an Academy Award with Ron Howard. I think they were going to partner up with a multi-picture, multi-television series project of translating Stephen King's Dark Tower series to the big screen. And Ron Howard was going to direct the movies, and in between the movies, they were going to have kind of anthology series that would connect one movie to the next, which sounded, I think whoever had the rights to that or could have said yes to that and said no, I think they really blew it. I think that could have been one of the coolest. In this day and age of pre-sold properties and planning connected universes and all that, and in movies and TV, the fact that they missed that, I think, is crazy. All of that being said, my understanding is the Dark Tower, this Dark Tower movie starring Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba, is a sequel of sorts to Stephen King's much, much rabidly loved series of books. So I don't know what the hell to make of this movie. It doesn't sound. I've listened to the first story. It was great. Everything I've seen from this is coming out later this summer. They haven't even put out a preview yet. And from what I see, this doesn't look anything like any of the movies. Or I'm sorry, any of the books.
I think I understand the concept, though. Here's the reason why. Mm-hmm. After all of the talk, and like you said, after the movie and the television hybrid that they were going to do, I think this is the safest bet in making a Dark Tower movie. Now, apparently, Stephen King also tweeted a photo of the Horn of Eld, which is the thing that Roland actually has at the end of the last book, spoilers, to kind of indicate that this time it maybe will be the last time that he's making this time loop rotation of trying to get to the Dark Tower. Mm-hmm. So apparently King tweeted the photo of the Horn of Eld with the caption "last time around." So it makes perfect sense, because if you think, how can you put 7 books into one movie? You can't. And the people are so passionate about these things. The only safe bet is to kind of continue on. So that way you're telling a story in the universe, but you're not holding yourself up to judgment against all of the source material.
You could be right. You could be totally right. It seems like just such a crazy thing to be able to finally make a movie of this property and then decide not to translate any of the books to the big screen. It just seems crazy. But
especially since we'll never get to see like what Wizards and Glass would have been told, like, which was the one I was looking forward to the most out of the series.
Right. Exactly.
But then again, I guess you could get away with that in like HBO's Westworld now.
Yeah. Yeah. It just seems right. A project like this would have been so exciting to see play out in a prestige television / big screen thing. But anyway, so I'm very interested in it. Sonia Mansfield, do you have any thoughts on the Dark Tower?
Not really. I like anything with Idris Elba in it.
I believe you were one of the proponents of the Idris Elba as James Bond.
Yeah.
Idea.
Well, yeah, I think he's really sexy. I mean, he's a really good actor.
Okay.
Both.
All right. And on that note, I hope David listens to every moment of this episode.
He doesn't listen. He listens to my insane rambling all the time. He doesn't have to sit down and put on headphones and listen to it too.
That's right.
By the way, Smith, is there anyone in your life that would listen to this?
No. Actually, no. I do have a couple friends that listen.
No, and I don't mean that facetiously. I'm not trying to be insulting. I just mean like, a significant other.
You accomplished it nevertheless. But anyway.
His wife listens. His wife listens sometimes.
Okay, so I have my own podcast, and I have to tell you, one of the most disconcerting things in my life is when I walk into our bedroom and my wife's getting ready, and I'm hearing my own voice, and I'm just like, oh God, and I gotta walk out of the room. I don't know why.
You know what? I think my ego is just healthy enough to be, hey, you listen to the podcast, huh? Listen to that. The thing is,
you should give us a 5-star review.
You should.
Wait until 5 minutes from now is the good part.
That's right. Wait until I say this. No.
Fast forward through the Sonia stuff.
That's right. Here, let me skip that for you. Just right to me. Okay. Excuse me. What I was going to say is, my wife doesn't listen to it. My kids don't really listen to it. I knew from my sisters that they kind of tore through it, and I've watched on my on the feedback online, the our Libsyn feedback, and I know which states they live in and kind of what our downloading numbers are. I'm pretty sure no one I know, other than a couple friends here in California, listens to this. But that shouldn't stop you from listening, folks. This This is a great
People-
podcast.
People who know us don't want to listen to us, but other people do.
But
But
you-
strangers do.
Poor strangers. You have the discerning palate.
I'm so sorry I brought this up.
I
so
am
sorry.
too, but I'm gonna ride this all the way into the ground, Slim Pickens, Dr. Strangelove style. I'm gonna hoot the whole way down.
Will, what's one of your other most anticipated movies?
That's right.
This is okay. So this is the surprise one. This is the one I wasn't even aware of, but I have to tell you that I can't think of anything that this director has done that I don't like. I cannot think of a single thing. It started with Spaced out of the UK TV show.
I love Spaced. Big Spaced fan.
And even though I knew nothing about the source material, I loved Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the entire Cornetto trilogy. So the moment I saw the trailer for Edgar Wright's Baby Driver, that became before or after Guardians of the Galaxy and perhaps The Last Jedi, which is not summer, so we won't discuss that here. But that movie became the one that I wanted to see the most because I knew it was going to give me everything I would want out of a movie.
Yeah, it was on my list too. And because Edgar Wright is awesome. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's one of my favorite movies to come out in the 2000s. It's got a crazy good cast too. Kevin Spacey, Jamie Foxx, John Hamm. I'm really excited for Baby Driver. Yeah. I'm pretty excited for that one. What about you, Smith? Are you excited for that one or no?
I am for all of the reasons that Edgar Wright. I like him. I don't think I like him as much as everybody else, but I am excited for it. But I also think I'm a guy that's super good at driving around, and this is my last heist before I get out of the life thing. I've seen it so many times that I just can't get hyped. Even though I know he's probably going to do it in a completely different, original way that's going to be great and fun and engaging.
Well, look what
I know all that. I agree 100%. But in my gut, it's just not connecting. I don't know why. I feel like I'm kind of a failure as a geek.
I feel like, he did such an original take on Shaun of the Dead, which could have just been a totally lame, zombie movie. And he kind of did the same thing with Hot Fuzz in that, he took a stupid buddy cop movie and made it something really funny. I just think he takes these ideas, these tropes that we're used to and tips them over.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're going to see this preview and we're like, well, it's obviously this. It's the guy who is doing one last job, that old story. But I think there's probably more to it than that, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, look at right. Yeah,
look at The World's End. I mean, it was the original concept and what you see in the first half of the movie just looks like nothing but repeated trope. It's just like you got the loser, the good friends, and they're hoping to whatever, and then it just gets totally thrown on its ear.
Right.
And I think this movie it's going to be nothing but it's going to be heart and adrenaline. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, no,
I'm into it.
I agree 100%. I'm totally with you. Sometimes you see a movie, it's like everything on paper, I should be loving this, but for some reason it's just not connecting into my pleasure receptors. I don't know. It could be me. I could be crazy. Don't answer
You are.
That. All right, Sonia Mansfield, what is your last?
This is my last pick
that you're anticipating.
And I'm basically pulling a Smith here, and I'm cheating a little bit. I'm putting two movies together. When I think of summer movies, I don't just think of big spectacles. I also think of really awesome comedies, and I think that these two are very similar, and I wanted to put them together. So it's Rough Night, which comes out June 16th, and Girls Trip, July 21st. These are movies that I'm excited about because these are the kind of movies that me and all my lady friends get together and we go see them. Rough Night is done by the same people that do Broad City on Comedy Central, which is super funny. And it's got a really good cast. It's got Scarlett Johansson and Kate McKinnon and Zoe Kravitz. It's like a dark comedy. It's like a Very Bad Things, but with ladies, basically. I think it looks really funny. And then Girls Trip is Regina Hall and Jada Pinkett Smith and Queen Latifah. And, they go on a ladies' trip and hijinks ensue. And I just think it looks really funny. And I think it's going to be those movies that make a lot of money. Like a lot of women are going to, let's go out and see Rough Night. Yeah. Like that thing. And we'll like it. Like Bad Moms.
No,
which Smith kind of made fun of me for last year because I really liked Bad Moms. I thought it was really funny.
Well, no, I'm glad you liked it, and that was just one of those movies that didn't land with me, even though I really wanted it to.
Yeah. Rough Night in particular, like anything that's got Kate McKinnon,
that's
gets filed away, and my brain is like, I want to see that. Like that's why I go to see like Office Christmas Party.
Oh, yeah.
This past December, because it has Kate McKinnon in it. So,
and those movies never try to pretend to be anything more than they are. It's just like, here's what you do. You get off work on a Friday night. You guys go for happy hour, or you go to your wine tasting. You grab an Uber that takes you to the theater, and then you guys all laugh way louder than you should when you go see like Bad Moms. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You basically just describe what I did when I went to go see Bad Moms.
I can't even tell you how good that makes me feel.
And that's what I'll be doing for Rough Night and Girls Trip, I'm sure.
So,
I also I could have also put in this slot. It's not a comedy, but Atomic Blonde was kind of an honorable mention for me with Charlize Theron.
Wow, you're cheating up a storm.
I totally am.
You got 2 picks, then you got honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Where does it end with you, Sonia? Where does it end?
It doesn't.
Isn't there one more on your honorable mentions? Isn't that where it ends?
Yeah, there is one more. It's called The Beguiled, and it's directed by Sofia Coppola.
Oh my God!
And it looks like kind of like almost like a spooky costume drama. I'm super into that one. I'll see that one too.
So,
Smith, what's your last
Sofia
pick?
Coppola, a Sofia Coppola movie. Is it a movie about watching paint dry? No, wait. Is it a movie about somebody describing
Don't be rude.
Watching paint dry? Wait, I got one more.
You didn't like Lost in Translation?
Is it a movie?
You didn't like Virgin Suicides?
I think I tried to watch Virgin Suicides, and I don't think I succeeded. Is it a movie about somebody whispering?
Now I'm starting to think that maybe Virgin Suicide should be one of my picks to make you watch.
Too late, Luther. No. Well, you know what? You have that power. You can make me do that. But before I watch Virgin Suicides and contemplate one of my own, I would like to talk about the last movie in my most anticipated list. Is a surprise to absolutely no one who knows me or knows my favorite movie of the last 15 years. Christopher Nolan telling a World War II story with a crazy good cast. This is about the evacuation of Dunkirk. I am very excited to see how he makes a total military fiasco into a big budget, huge movie. But he makes everything he does is compelling and interesting, even though if it's a little sometimes bloodless and cold. This one stars Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Mark Rylance, Kenneth Branagh, and some other people. So yeah, I got nothing. I have nothing articulate to say other than, hey, it's a new Christopher Nolan movie. That's it. That's all I got. And the poster.
I don't blame you though. I'd see anything with Tom Hardy.
I agree. And the poster of Dunkirk, I'm looking at it now on Internet Movie Database, is essentially the poster to The Dark Knight, I believe. Also, it's looking at somebody's back as they look over a field of destruction. So
Or Star Trek Into Darkness.
Or Star Trek Into Darkness, or probably 25% of the big summer movies for the last 10 years. But anyway.
At least when you see a Christopher Nolan movie, you know you're going to see something interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be bored.
Definitely. And I've heard some interesting rumblings about this movie, about, trying to take a shot at a different kind of war movie. I don't want to be cynical in saying that he's making his big Oscar play, but
he's making his big Oscar play.
He's making his big Oscar play. This is a big prestige movie, a lot of, Oscar nominees and Oscar-winning people. It's a big Oscar-winning subject. It's got British people with problems. All the Oscar love should be right there.
It's got British people with problems.
It does. So, yes. Sonia, do you have anything to say about... But enough about me. Sonia, what do you think of Dunkirk?
I don't have anything to say about Dunkirk.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Will,
do you want to share what you think is going to be the biggest bomb?
I will after you share what you think is going to be the biggest bomb. Because I think you might be right. More right than me.
I changed my biggest bomb because I saw that neither of you guys picked it. Originally, I put Baywatch, but I changed it to King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Oh.
Because I think it looks incredibly stupid. I'm sorry. It looks really, really dumb. And I know that Hollywood thinks that this Charlie Hunnam, or whatever his name is a star. He totally isn't. He isn't. He is nothing. I'm sorry. He's nothing.
To quote,
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, he did a really good job with Sons of Anarchy. And also, I really liked him in Pacific Rim. I think he did an okay job there, too.
He was so boring to me in Pacific Rim that I didn't realize he was the same guy from the beginning. Like,
wow.
I was like, what happened to the guy from the beginning? And my husband's like, that's the guy. And
oh, I'm like, my God.
I was like, I forgot him already. Like, I had instantly forgot him. He's like, he just doesn't do it for me at all, apparently. And when I saw this preview, it just looks so dumb. It looks like I don't get it.
I don't know what to think of that one, honestly, only because I feel like this is like the third iteration of the King Arthur story in at least since the 70s that I can think of. Right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, one of them had Sean Connery.
Right.
One of them had Keira Knightley. Oh, and Richard Gere. Isn't that one?
Yeah.
It was Richard Gere and Sean Connery.
There's just something about it that's like, it's just, like, hey, we're not your mama's King Arthur story. I just hate it. It looks so stupid. And I don't know, Guy Ritchie has made movies that I like, but I didn't like the Sherlock Holmes movies either. So this one's just not speaking to me. I think it comes out shortly after Guardians, and I think Guardians is going to make so much money that nobody's going to go see King Arthur.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it may be a blip, and look, I know it probably is a little more screen accurate for the time it's depicting, but it also just looks dirty, and I don't mean nasty. I mean, it looks just grungy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we already get enough of that with Game of Thrones. We already get enough mud and ice and snow and swords.
Yeah. I'd rather I'm going to save it and watch Game of Thrones.
I agree with you. I really wonder, Guy Ritchie, his two Sherlock Holmes movies were fun for what they were. He makes really energetic movies, but, far be it for me to disagree with our guest, but Charlie Hunnam, my God, is there any more inert actor on the modern movie landscape than this guy? He's like the 2017 Sam Worthington. He's just
here's what we do. I know what to do now.
Okay.
As long as I get the actress's name right, okay?
Okay.
Charlie Hunnam in a movie with is her name Kristen Stewart? Is that the one that was in the sparkly vampire movies?
Yeah.
Two of them together in one movie.
Good
Think
Lord.
about it now.
If we could
Wait, are they voting now?
Sophia Coppola.
You know what?
I
thought about them in a movie together, and then I instantly forgot about that movie.
It's completely understandable.
I think, Smith, I think our discussion of Charlie, what's his face, before actually led to us talking about Freddie Prinze Jr.
I think you're right.
And how we created like a whole Freddie Prinze. You probably don't know this, Will. We created a whole Freddie Prinze Jr. scale, like of rating like actors' charisma, where like Freddie Prinze Jr. is like the constant. He's what was he 1 or 0? I forget.
He is
and
one.
Then
Freddie Prinze Jr. He's completely inert. He doesn't draw you in.
Right.
He doesn't repel you. He's just there.
So then, like, so someone like a
to lay
Robert
on.
Downey Jr. is like 50,000 Freddie Prinze Jr.'s, and then Freddie Prinze Jr. is
Yeah.
just
So,
one.
Yeah, Charlie.
So
know,
Freddie
I-
Prinze, so he's the baseline. Like if you were
Yes.
conducting an experiment,
Yes.
he's like 1 horsepower.
Precisely. Yes. And
I like
Charlie
it.
Hunnam
Yeah.
is one. He is.
He's
one,
like that. He's like one Freddie Prinze Jr. He's
Yeah.
like the same.
Exactly, and like
Or maybe
And
a fraction.
And then for actresses, it was Rachel Lee Cook. So it was like a she's all that kind of.
yes,
Whole vibe there. I like
Yeah.
it.
exactly, and like a Rob Schneider would be like a negative 100,000. Like he's so repellent that he just pushes you right out of the movie. You see the name on the poster, and it just pushes you away. So Charlie Hunnam doesn't pull you in, and he doesn't push you out. He's just there, occupying space that air could also occupy. Probably with a similar acting ability. Why am I being so cruel to this inert man? I'm sorry. Charlie, if you're listening,
We know
Hello.
you are.
I would just like to say hello. All right.
What's your bomb? And then, yeah.
bomb is, and I hate to say this because this is a star that in a weird way, he's not really an underdog because he's one of the biggest stars in movies, but he's been kicked around, probably deservedly so, for off-screen antics. He's kind of got this damaged reputation, but movie for movie, Tom Cruise still delivers a lot of the time. But recently, I'm really liking the way the Mission Impossible movies go. But recently, he started to pick just not good movies. The first Jack Reacher movie was a completely fine, serviceable, boring action movie. The second one was like a bad television ripoff of a big screen Tom Cruise movie. It was really amateurish, really awful. He was not good at it. It looks like that Tom Cruise is showing up in The Mummy, which is meant to launch Universal's connected universe of monster movies. Because I guess somewhere down the line, we need to see a big team-up movie of Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, The Mummy. Like, who cares about it? Anyway, I think we've all seen the preview to this just very strange-looking, very dated-looking horror action movie, I guess is what it is. I think this is a misfire from start to finish. It doesn't look interesting. It's, sometimes you hear about a movie and the idea doesn't sound that great. Oh, you know what? I'll put the first Planet of the Apes remake, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, in this category. You hear about it and you go, why are they doing that? What in the hell are they thinking? And then you see a preview and it's like, oh, okay, that might be something. I don't know. But I'm still very wary. And then you hear the critics talk about it and they love it. And then you go see it and it's like, oh, this movie that I thought was going to be a train wreck turns out to be a good movie. I don't think The Mummy is on that path. I think
I think the Brendan Fraser Mummy was kind of on that path where I was like, what is that? That looks stupid.
Yeah.
And then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like
I was like pleasantly surprised.
yeah, like the first Pirates of the Caribbean. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't expect this to be as good as it was, but look at that, huh? What do you know? But the Mummy, this is all of the previews to this just seem like a 1999 bad blockbuster. It just even the graphics, the computer graphics just look weirdly cheap and dated. I don't know what it is, but I think but between Tom Cruise kind of getting a little long in the tooth, between this movie being so chewed over by Universal because they're so desperate to launch their monster connected universe, between just everything else that's coming on in the summer, I think this movie is going to be a big train wreck, and I think there's going to be a lot of people wondering if Tom Cruise can pull his career out of a spiral after this one comes out. But
he will.
Well, he's already got a sequel to that the fighting the aliens and stuck in a loop movie.
That's
Wash,
true.
Die, Repeat, or whatever it was. But no, this Mummy movie clearly it screams nothing but concept in a boardroom is what it was.
Yes.
This was a bunch of executives thought, okay, what can we do? What do we own the mummies, we got the Frankensteins and the Draculas, right? Okay, how can we do this? Can we get Tom Cruise in? Great. What are we gonna do? He was in that vampire movie, so let's make the mummy a chick. I just don't. I don't know. There's nothing that draws me into the concept. I may end up eating my hat on that one, but I think you're right. I don't think it's going to do well. I think unless he's Mission Impossibling or battling the bugs in a time loop, people don't care about Tom Cruise anymore.
I agree, and that actually,
I think you're right.
I think you're 100% right, and I think Live, Die, Repeat, Rinse, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow is exactly,
that's the one.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow was a fantastic movie, and that's the kind of thing, is that say what you want about him, he picks interesting projects that are high concept, big budget action movies, but also have some kind of quality in them. They have some kind of good thing going for him. So he still can kind of keep his career rolling. But yeah, this movie just seems wrong, and I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't point this out because I don't want to be nose shaming. However, is it me, or is Tom Cruise's nose just getting bigger and bigger and bigger?
Well, isn't that what happens as we age?
I think it is.
I think he's just getting smaller.
Oh God, yeah, he might be getting smaller, and his nose is getting. There's a comedian from the '50s whose name escapes me, who's reminding me it's like he's getting that guy's nose. I don't even know how do you even Google
a comedian
like
from when?
A comedian from the 50s. He was old in the 50s. I think he was
Jimmy Durante.
Jimmy Durante. Oh, you might be right. Oh, Sonia Mansfield. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Sonia Mansfield with the win.
Jimmy Durante.
And that is why I used to host a podcast called Old Movies, New Beer.
Oh my God, that is Tom Cruise's nose. Oh,
see?
No.
I'm super smart.
No.
Until Scientology says the nose isn't marketable, then it'll be fixed.
Yeah,
you know what the thing is about this movie and why it's probably not going to work? Tom Cruise, he does pick usually pretty interesting things, but he also attaches himself to really cool directors.
Yes.
And this isn't that.
You're right.
Either.
In fact, this movie is directed by Alex Kurtzman, who is supposed to be, I guess, he's one of the writers for several of the Transformers movies. And
there you go.
First two Star Trek reboot movies. He's kind of has a reputation among at least the Star Trek fanboys that I pay attention to of not being fantastic. And he's supposed to be shepherding the Universal connected monster universe. So yeah, this is all TBD, I guess. Oh, that's right. He also wrote he was a producer on The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
well, that's a great endorsement.
Yeah.
Right.
Boy.
Yeah.
And boy, have I changed my tune now.
That's right. He was the executive producer of Scorpion, the television series. Producer on Now You See Me 2. Ooh, man.
Ew.
Yeah, this is not this is not encouraging. Producer on Cowboys and Aliens. Good Lord. All right,
well,
you know what?
You may have picked very well, Smith.
Yeah, we'll see. I could be wrong.
My only question My question I have to ask you guys, because I mean, this is the one that has baffled me. I don't know if it's going to be a hit. I don't know if it's going to be a flop. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm surprised none of us mentioned it, though. The Emoji Movie.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, we really blew it.
I think I was trying to pretend it doesn't exist. It's so stupid. I don't That's another one by committee, right? That they're just, what are the kids into?
Yeah.
They're like emojis, right?
We got to get the emojis. Get me them emojis.
I like your studio exec character you've got going there, Will. That's really
it's always got to be a guy that's almost using the term right, but not quite getting it. You know what I mean?
The emojis.
Or they're a person that always refers to it's the things. How are we going to get us one of them, something like the Star Wars? How are we going to do that?
You're not wrong.
Well, and the thing that I don't understand is they got Patrick Stewart playing the poop emoji. So
sad. Patrick Stewart.
I don't know. And I don't want to crap on it because I know originally when I heard the concept of the Lego, not the concept of, but just the idea of the Lego movie being a thing, like they're making a Lego movie. What the hell is that going to be about? Boy, did I eat my words on that one.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, and they got I like that they got Stephen Wright to do one of the voices. And I was like, he has such a great voice. He's so funny. Like, how come he hasn't been tapped for this sort of thing before? And then now it's just going to be in this awful emoji movie.
Well, at least we didn't write him, right?
That's right.
Because if we wrote them, we would have a lot more money than we do now. That's right. So it's lose, lose, lose all the way around. But for anyone still listening, still interested in Tom Cruise's nose, I would just like to point you to our show notes where we have a picture of Tom Cruise and his nose and Jimmy Durante and his nose. And the similarities will shock you.
Will, where can people find you on the internets?
Oh, wow. After this, I don't think they'll be looking. But if you go to NetHead WW on Twitter, or you just go to smodcast.com, click on NetHeads. That's where I be. I mean, technically, you could go to wilwilkins.com or netheadsonair.com too, but those get refreshed about as often as my house's air conditioning filter, the central air filter. You're supposed to do it like every other month or something, and it's like 6 months, and you realize, oh, look, it's completely sucked into the ductwork now. That's kind of my take on updating websites.
Wow.
Good to know.
Sorry to hear that. But thank you for coming on the podcast. No, it was really fun to have you on, man. Thank
you so much, Will, for coming on and
as much as possible. Your fantastic insight and your great impressions of
and your
studio
execs and your soothing voice
and your getting me to watch Break It Out. What am I watching?
Bring It On.
And Pitch Perfect.
You're welcome. You should be thanking him.
Thank you.
I definitely think he'll be thanking us for Pitch Perfect.
You will.
So, am I going to be thanking her for the Suicide Diaries? What's Virgin Suicides?
That I don't know. I haven't seen it either. Good luck on that one.
Now Will has to watch it and come back on.
Ooh, all right. Having said all that, on with the show.
Hey, want more Dorking Out?
Yep.
You can visit our website at dorkingoutshow.com.
You can.
And you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Do you listen to us on iTunes?
Yep.
It's cool.
It's cool.
We won't tell anyone.
Nope.
Please take a few minutes out of your busy day of pretending to work while you watch cat videos to give us a review on iTunes.
Cat videos!
For some reason, iTunes really cares about reviews, and it helps us attract more listeners, and you want us to have more listeners and be popular and cool, don't you?
Yep.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
And now, on with the show.
Yeah.
Topic 2. The 10-part miniseries, The Handmaid's Tale, debuted last week on Hulu. It actually got me to sign up for Hulu. Based on the 1985 book by Margaret Atwood, the miniseries stars Elizabeth Moss, Joseph Fiennes, Samira Wiley, and Alexis Liddell from Gilmore Girls, also known as Rory. It's set in a dystopian near future in which women have no rights. Most women are infertile in this future, but there are a handful of women who could still have children, and they are forced to have babies for wealthy and powerful couples. I believe actually one of the characters refers to themselves as two-legged wombs. Really cheerful stuff. So it's a comedy.
Very cheerful. Yes, very cheerful. This is the most cheerful
Elizabeth
I've been.
Moss. Elizabeth Moss. She played Peggy on Mad Men. Is our narrator and our main character Offred, whose husband is murdered and her 8-year-old daughter is taken away. And we kind of see in flashbacks how we got to this really messed up future. And for me, that's the part that it actually scares me even more than the awful future where the women are forced to have babies, because it seems very recognizable to me. It seems very familiar. You know, a lot of like, they can't do that and this will blow over. And these are all things that I've said or someone has said to me. So it really freaks me out. And I find it the whole series is, I keep coming back to the word chilling. Like, it is absolutely terrifying. It's really, really good. I just want to say, like, I watched the first 3 episodes. Did you watch the first 3?
I did. I watched the first 3 came out I think on Wednesday. I watched them all.
Yeah, and then after that, they're just going to do one a week. I never read the book, so I can't really speak to that. But what I saw so far is so good, so good, and like the performances are really great. And I think Elizabeth Moss, like, she's really amazing in this from the first 3 that I've seen. Like the way I put in my notes here that she conveys like sadness and fear and rage, like all at the same time with just like a look. It's pretty impressive stuff. What I've seen so far is it makes me really sad and angry and scared. But it's really well done, and I'm really excited to keep watching the rest. I'm into it. So, Smith, what did you think?
2 things. I've heard a lot of chat, you know, when one of these big prestige television things come along, you see a lot of critics talk about them, and a lot of times, you know, I think when we were growing up, a lot of television critics would spend most of their time saying how much things sucked. But with shows like this, now they spend their time saying this is either good, great, or one of the greatest. I've heard more than a few people that I trust say this is the best show of 2017, and I tend to agree. It is a fantastically creepy, just frightening show, just with masterfully done, masterfully directed, masterfully written. But I have to say, this is the weirdest sequel to Gilmore Girls I could possibly imagine.
Yeah, Rory's really different. She's all grown up.
Well, you know, at first...
She's all grown up.
She is all grown up. Well, at first, I made this joke, I think, on our Twitter feed, and while I was watching, it's like, and you see... hold on, let me... Alexis Bledel. You see her, it's like, oh, okay, she was on the Gilmore Girls, and this is very different. But then you think, all right, her character in Gilmore Girls is a college professor at certain points. She was a college professor, I believe, in this show. She got pregnant in the last moments of the last episode of the Gilmore Girls. Her entire character is based around getting pregnant here. The more I started thinking about it... This is
the way you found to make the show easy to watch.
Easier to watch.
Well, I'm going to imagine that I'll make this about Rory Gilmore.
Exactly. I'm going to imagine, because that's the other thing, is all of the characters, you know, this world is set up where you kind of get names based on what you do. Like, you know, if you're a servant, you're one of the Marthas. It's really quite creepy. If you're somebody that can have children, you're a handmaiden, and you get a new name given to you by the people that own you. And
yeah, so our main person, Elizabeth Moss, her name is Offred, which means of Fred. She belongs to Fred. Her
Right.
real name is June.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they don't even get to have their own names.
Exactly. And Alexis Bledell's is off Glenn because she is owned by Glenn. And so it's like I kind of made this kind of in the midst of being horrified and disturbed by the just combination of pretty plausible, but also just truly horrifying, and also examination of what it really is to live under a totalitarian regime. It became easier and easier in a weird way to conceive of this as Netflix's new 10 episodes of the Gilmore Girls. It's just because then you start to see, and I'll get off this shtick
now
here in a minute.
I was watching it like it was a continuation of Mad Men, and I was like, gosh, things went really bad for Peggy Olson.
That's right.
That sucks for her.
Exactly. Actually, you know what you could do? You could say that Elizabeth Moss would be the daughter of Peggy Olson.
There you go.
Yeah, Offred would be the daughter, to line up all the timelines. But, so now we have Mad Men and Gilmore Girls in the same connected universe, connected by their horrible fates that are revealed to them in the Handmaid's Tale.
We're trying to find a fun way to talk about this. It is,
yes.
It is very serious stuff, but it is so good.
It is. Yeah. It
is like, it's just like higher level, like, stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better way to say that, but that's how it came out.
I hear it, because the thing is it doesn't do, a lot of times, especially on television, when there's some totalitarian state that's imposed, they never really reveal, A, how it came about, so and B, they don't really seem to ever do their homework on what fascist states or totalitarian states are really like and what it's really like to live under them. And unfortunately, we have a lot to draw on between communism and fascism and all this stuff of what it's like when people have even in the old, the American South, when people are able to impose a rigid system of human control and fear, where it becomes a question of, if you're a good person that wants to resist, but you also have to keep yourself alive, what compromises do you make? How much do you hide your inner self? And that is, I think, for me, the number one chilling thing in this is how far Elizabeth Moss's interior monologue is from the face that she shows the world. I think if you were to strip out all of her narration, you would almost think that she's really into this, like she's a true believer, because she's so good at projecting this false front, and it's just horrifying. But, and here's the main part, it's understandable. You can see in yourself, she's not one of these, I'm going to be a rebel and I'm going to flip over all the tables and I'm going to start the revolution. Right. She doesn't want to get involved because she wants to live. Her number one thing is, I want to live, and if I'm going to live, I can't rock the boat, and if I'm not going to rock the boat, this is what I have to do. And it's just, so horrid. So, yeah, I mean, a word like chilling is kind of thrown around a lot for a lot of creepy stuff. This really is.
Yeah, well, it's because it's so terrifying. There's just there's a couple of things, like when there's like she just kind of casually mentions, like, they suspended the Constitution,
right? But
it was only supposed to be temporary. And it's because they were busy trying to catch terrorists, and like the idea of like blaming terrorists for like waiving your rights,
right?
Basically to keep the country safe. And I'm like, we kind of hear about like that stuff now, like the idea of doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. And then, they're in this, then they start this like class, like a rehabilitation class where they're taking all the women who are fertile and basically brainwashing them and trying to, just turn them into like baby machines. And the teacher or whatever says like, this will eventually seem ordinary.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I was like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like normalizing this sort of like, it seems weird now and I understand you want to rebel, but eventually you'll come to accept it. Eventually this will be ordinary. It made me feel kind of sick. It was so disturbing.
Yes.
And then to see like how it gets there, like just like little things where like they go in to like buy coffee and like, the man behind the counter calls them sluts and like,
yeah,
they all like, can't keep their jobs. They all get escorted out of the building because now it's illegal for women to work and all their bank accounts get frozen. So they have no money.
Right. Right.
It's just really scary.
It is. And that's, I think part of that stuff I'm not going to say I wasn't affected by it, but I did find as plausible. The thing with the coffee I thought was very creepy because it wasn't so much that this guy called them sluts. It's that the atmosphere in the society was getting to the point where he felt like he could scream something like that in the middle of a coffee shop at some customers and nothing would happen.
Well, that's why it scares me because it has, we have that now. Where like people are kind of emboldened by our current president to say some really awful things.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we're kind of seeing that sort of thing happening. So then to like, they're kind of using that, this was probably even filmed before our current environment.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I think, I think a lot of the critical response around this has mentioned, this is the movie, this miniseries for our time and blah, 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 which I get, I think, but I do think it's one of those weird, I don't want to say happy accidents, where they just happen to be producing this. They just happen to be taking this tack. I mean, it is a lot of the themes in it are relatively eternal. And it just so happens that it's coming out. And
I mean, after the election, there was like a rash of like people in the service industry just saying awful things to like Hispanic customers or, go back to your country, that sort of thing where they just feel emboldened to behave that way.
Yeah.
And so that's what was so scary to me about that scene was they went in there and they asked about the female barista that was always there, like what happened to Jenny or whatever her name was, and he's like, how would I know? Like he was rude to them,
right?
And it's because women aren't allowed to work anymore, right? But they don't know that yet. And and he says these awful things to them because he can.
It's just it's very creepy. And even though I've kind of nitpicked a little bit on how this happens, one of the problems that I do have a lot of times with dystopian futures is you can never quite see how things go from here to there. So I always have a hard time kind of buying into like the Hunger Games, for example. I can't conceive of a society that would give up their children for something like that,
right?
And the thing that I've said before is, like with the Hunger Games, I understand once this system has been laid in place for 75 years, people might be so inured to it that by the 75th Hunger Games, they would go through with it. But the first Hunger Games, when the government comes for their kids, it would have just been an apocalypse. It never would have gotten started. Here, I think because of the constraints of television, they do kind of do some shortcuts about how, one day all of a sudden women can't work, all the bank accounts are seized, and just bang, bang, bang. I think it does happen a little quick, but I think they do it in an effective enough way to kind of get you through that in a semi-believable way. And then everything after the new system is put in place is just very believable. How people live under fear, how they react under fear, and the most horrible thing, and this is for me why it's so chilling, is when you're really confronted. Right now, say what we want about the last 15 years and living in America and free speech and all that, about how it's supposedly been eroded, but when we want to speak out, we can speak out. When we want to say something, we can say something, and people might say mean things about us on Twitter or something, but that'll be it. She's confronted with,
Right.
If I say the wrong thing in front of the wrong person, I could get literally put against a wall today, and that'll be it for me.
Yeah.
And when you have that much to risk, how many people really want to do the right thing? How many people are willing to put their lives on the line to try to push back against evil? And once you face that equation, it becomes a lot more understandable for a lot of people to say, I don't want any trouble. I'm just going to do what I have to do to get by. It's a horrifying presentation about how plausible surrendering to fascism or totalitarianism is.
There's some stuff in the third episode that was like a punch in the gut.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was just heartbreaking and awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is one.
This show.
Yeah, there's one shot, and I'll be honest with you. I think it was around the time. Of that shot and that sequence that I came up with the whole Rory thing, because it was just, this is too much. This is too creepy, and I have to make some dumb joke because this is just harrowing in a very Schindler's List kind of way. But it's, it is really good. The directing is really good. The acting is insane. I think this might be, Hulu might have its first Emmy-winning drama. This might be the best drama of the year, and it's something that I will watch once, and I'm sure never watch again.
Yeah, I don't
horrifying.
see myself going back to watch it, but I mean, I might if my husband wanted to watch it or something, then maybe I would, but it would be tough watch.
Yeah.
So it's some hard stuff, but it's really great, and I can't recommend it enough. And I've just been talking about it nonstop since I watched it because it's crazy good.
Yeah, it's
everybody was like Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange are going to win all the Emmys for Feud.
No,
but now I've seen this, and I'm like,
No. Yeah. Elizabeth Moss, man, if she doesn't get, well, who knows? If she doesn't get nominated, it's an insane thing. And if she doesn't win, if this show doesn't get, because that's the thing is, there are certain kinds of shows where they shoot at a target, they hit it with some distinction, they hit it with some competence, and it's like, okay, that's great. But sometimes creators shoot at a target that is so difficult to hit that even if they miss it or kind of glance off it, it's like, oh, well, it wasn't really perfect or it wasn't really successful, but it was a very interesting thing to see somebody try. Then you have the projects where it's a very difficult shoot, very difficult target to hit, and you hit it 100% with everything you have, the directing, the acting, the writing, the overall story, the themes, the execution is all just exactly what they need to be. And when that happens, it's spectacular. Like a Breaking Bad or a Band of Brothers or something. And I would put this up there.
Absolutely.
But my God, it is just I don't want to say a downer because I don't want to kind of, for all the wise-ass jokes that we started with, I don't want to go down that road, but it is just horrifying. And
It's a tough one to watch. I will say that Elizabeth Moss's voiceover narration does occasionally provide some levity.
yes.
So there's it's a very serious miniseries, but occasionally, her inner monologue, it tells us everything about that character. And, she just occasionally makes these very funny comments so there is every once in a while, at least you get something.
Right. I want to ask
a little levity.
I want to ask you a question. This occurred to me, but this came up in our discussions of Big Little Lies about how we had kind of met women similar to those in Big Little Lies and just kind of the special kind of hell that they put each other through in that kind of female versus female hyper competition. Did you get some kind of, I guess, vibe here? Almost like, I don't know, this would be like the Monterey of this Handmaid's Tale thing. The super rich trophy wives in this seem to have that kind of just blood-curdling level of competition with each other that the two shows kind of echoed for me in a very weird nightmare way.
I can see what you're saying.
I see
what you're saying.
Did that hit you, or is that just something that I'm projecting?
No, I could see it. It's not something I thought about, but I can see what you're talking about. They could almost do another show and tell it from another point of view.
They could. Well, you know what? That's a thing. And
by the way, all those rich moms or the rich ladies that can't have kids that are, I was just losing it when one of the handmaidens is actually giving birth.
Yes.
And then one of the infertile, rich wives or whatever is having a faux birth.
Oh, God.
Where she's pretending that she's in labor. While and it was just, it made me want to take a chair and throw it at the TV. I was so angry. It was so disgusting.
It was, well, I'll be honest. It was so off. I think that was the creepiest part for me.
Yeah.
Because, what they have in this weird future is this very regimented society where, the handmaidens give birth. They kind of have this ceremony where the handmaidens give birth, and then the barren wives that they're giving birth for do this weird faux birth, and all of the wives, all the, entitled and privileged wives hang around with the woman who's going to be taking the baby. And kind of tell her to breathe and do all the stuff that you're supposed to do when you're actually giving birth.
Rubbing her feet.
But it's all fake.
Fanning her. Yeah, but it's fake. Yeah, it's so gross. And then the real woman giving birth up there, is doing all the work. But then she's not going to get the reward.
Right.
Of actually getting to keep her baby.
Yeah, and when they took the baby from the handmaiden, gave it to the woman that did the faux birth, and then all of the woman's friends started asking her about the faux birth that they just saw her not really have. And what was it like? And what are you going to name? Oh, we've decided to name the. It's just it is a true creepy weird nightmare, in that it is just a tick or two off of what a real birth is like or whatever. It's just yeah.
It made me I was yelling at the TV shut up.
Yeah, it was. But I could actually, now that I think about it, that was the sequence. I could definitely see the Laura Dern character or the
no, but there is that competition, because then Elizabeth Moss's wife or whatever, she wants a baby now so bad that because she's seen this other she has one now, I want one.
Right.
like kind of thing. And then she starts like being extra nice to her and all this, like somehow that's going to help her like get a baby. Yeah. So there is that like competition there.
Yeah,
for sure.
there's also more than a few echoes of slavery in here and what it's really like to live under a system of slavery and that kind of, we talk about a lot of oppression in this society but when you really see, and there is oppression, I don't want to downplay that, but there's oppression and then there's this. Then there's
it's
true
awful.
totalitarian oppression that pours itself into every single corner of society, and it's it's horrifying.
This is a crazy good miniseries. This is like next level stuff, and I can't stress enough to our listeners that they should be watching it. Like, so if you don't get Hulu, like maybe you could even wait till like the run of the show and then sign up for the free trial and watch it all.
Yeah.
But I'm gladly, I signed up for the free trial, but I'll gladly continue to, stay on and pay a little bit because it's really good.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
So that is our review, our shuddering, creeped out, flipped out, willy-inducing review of Handmaid's Tale. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, let's just move on. I'm ready to talk about something else.
Let's get out of here. It's horrifying.
And now it's time for us to talk about what we're dorking out about this week. Do you want to go, Smith? You want to go first?
I think we have 4 things. I'm going to blast through mine really quick because I don't really have anything deep to say about them. I just think they're kind of interesting and unusual entertainment stories recently.
Okay.
So Mike Myers has reached that stage in his career where he's starting to, I don't know, in years past, you have a hot young comedian that comes up, they star in a couple movies, they have a couple bombs, they're gone for a while, and then they either kind of reemerge as maybe some kind of dramatic actor, or they kind of bring the comedy back, or they kind of start to do things that maybe when they were super hot they wouldn't do, like host a game show or be on Dancing with the Stars or that kind of stuff. Mike Myers has kind of entered that stage of his career, but what he's doing, I think, is very interesting. He's going to host on ABC this fall a revival of The Gong Show, produced by Will Arnett, but he's not hosting it as Mike Myers. He's hosting it as a fictional British comedian, Tommy Maitland. And he's got
that reminds me of what's the character that Martin Short used to play all the time? It was like Jiminy.
Yeah, Jiminy Glick.
Yeah, Jiminy Glick.
Yeah, which, I am kind of interested in this. He's got a pretty impressive list of people who are going to be on the show, which I'm excited about, including Arnett, Zach Galifianakis, Andy Samberg, Elizabeth Banks, Joel McHale, Dana Carvey. It's gonna be fun to see Dana Carvey and Mike Myers making comedy again. Yes. I don't really have anything to say about this other than that's a different way to do a game show.
It makes me want to watch it at least once.
It kind of does, and I like these. Stephen Colbert did this famously on his show, and I was watching the Samantha Bee fake, not the White House press corps thing, and she did a thing where it was kind of like her, kind of like fake file footage of her throughout the years making fun of presidents from Woodrow Wilson all the way till now, and it was really weird and funny. She was making a lot of AIDS jokes when it was the 80s Reagan footage and everything, and it was just like tasteless, obviously, but it was funny and weird and strange and different, and I'm kind of interested in seeing what Myers does with this. I think he was one of the funniest comedians around when he was working. Then he stopped working. And yeah, I hope he comes back.
Well,
I'd
he
like to
had
see
all
where he
that
comes-
fat Shrek money.
He had that
So,
fat. Yeah, and this is gonna make you feel guilty. Also, his father died, which
Oh,
also
there's
yeah.
that.
So there's that.
Thanks.
And that's what you've fallen right into my trap. No. So yeah. Hopefully he's kind of dug his way out of the grief and there also was The Love Guru, which was a spectacular bomb, his last movie. So all of that being said, I'm interested in what he does with this. Supposedly he's got a whole backstory written out for this guy, old movies that he's been in, old TV shows that he's been in, all of which are fake and made up. I'm kind of expecting that we're going to see some footage of that during the Gong Show, but I don't know. We'll see. Sonia Mansfield.
Yes.
What is your list?
I wanted to chat with you about this. I haven't watched the show yet. Have you watched 13 Reasons Why?
I've heard about it, and I am not super interested or enthusiastic about what I've heard.
Yeah, it's not a show for me, but there's a lot of controversy around it where a lot of schools are like sending home letters or contacting parents about the show because it deals with teen suicide, and some people are actually complaining that it kind of glamorizes teen suicide. And there's actually petitions going around where parents are trying to like get Netflix to actually pull the show off of their service, which they're not going to do. That's ridiculous. But, and saying things like my daughter watched all 13 episodes and blah, blah, all this stuff. And I was wondering, as a parent of teenagers, like, what do you think about that? Do you monitor what your kids watch or
I do.
Or anything like that?
I definitely do, but I've noticed that I am unusually lucky in the resilience of what my kids can handle. They never really got scared of movies. They never really kind of had nightmares. They never really, we can watch stuff and kind of have mature discussions about it or kind of appropriate discussions about it. Also, they're not really very emotionally exercised about a lot of stuff. They don't kind of get really super moody or super emotionally overwrought like a lot of teenagers do. So I've kind of been able to dodge a lot of that teenage minefield, not because I'm such a great parent, but just because I've done some good parenting, but I've also gotten very lucky with the kind of temperaments that they naturally have.
Right. Because I was, I know what the show is, and it kept popping up in my feed because I was seeing like some people that I'm maybe friends with or, a friend of a friend on Facebook or whatever, commenting and saying like, my daughter watched all 13 episodes. So then, I decide, and then I read about what the show's about and I'm upset and I'm signing this petition to get the show taken off. And I was like, well, your daughter watched 13 hours of a show before you figured out that maybe she shouldn't be watching it.
Well,
and I'm like, it's crazy to me. Now I have a 5-year-old. I'm nowhere near like dealing with these sort of problems yet. And I get that like teenagers kind of hide away in their rooms and things like that. Do.
And I have run into that where I've walked in and, and I do kind of the thing where I'll walk in unexpectedly just to see what they're watching. And I did find out, and usually it's pretty good. My boys are pretty good, and we have a pretty open communication about what they watched. However, I think Dell watched like 2 seasons of Showtime Shameless before I found out.
That's I've never watched Shameless, but
that's a very grown-up show.
Yeah.
And I was not thrilled with that. But he's so maybe everything that I've said up until this point will be sound horribly portentous, depending on what happens with my kids months or years down the line. But for right now, everything's great.
What I'm reading, good. when I'm reading about the show doesn't really make me want to watch it. I just think it's really interesting, the idea that it's opening up a dialogue for people to talk, and I would think that maybe that's a good thing. But there's also this kind of reactionary, won't someone think about the children kind of vibe about it that is always kind of a red flag to me.
Well, I hear you. I do hear you, and I think the quote unquote,
it's based on a young adult novel. Like, the book's been out there for a while.
Yeah. Like, I hear what you're saying about the red flag of won't someone think about the children, and that's kind of become a punchline in certain areas of our culture and especially certain areas of Hollywood culture that we like to pay attention to,
right,
and that we're steeped in. But there is sometimes there is a thing to think about.
No, we do need to.
Because we do know.
We do, absolutely.
There have been studies that coverage of suicide actually creates copycat suicides. So it is very important how certain things are covered. And I think, let me ask you this. Okay, for anybody who hasn't seen 13 Reasons Why, we are going to spoil it now. So here's the spoiler sound. What I heard is, and tell me if this jives with what you've heard. It's funny, we're both going to talk seriously about a show that neither one of us has watched.
Right.
Is a young woman commits suicide, records a bunch of tapes or whatever, and sends them to her friends and family members.
Yes.
Basically, this is why I killed myself. And it comes out that she's killed herself because I think either her or a friend was raped, and they tried to do something about it. They tried to go to the school officials. School official didn't do anything about it, so she killed herself. I don't know. That seems pretty wrought up and emotional, and to play to a lot of stereotypes about young, passionate girls, really emotional girls. And I'm not sure I really like that kind of treatment of it, but this is told to me telephone style from somebody who's watched it, talked to somebody else who I talked to, and so I don't know. What have you heard about the show? What do you know?
That sounds pretty close to what I've heard about the show as well. So I think you're right on about the description. I guess I'm always, I'm going to be very gentle. It always concerns me when parents get upset about shows and they're like too late. Like they want, or the idea that they want Netflix to parent for them.
Yeah.
Basically, like kind of like these groups that are like, picketing like when The Shield was on FX because they didn't want their kids watching The Shield. And I was like, well, why is your 8-year-old up at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night watching The Shield? That sort of thing. And so I don't like it when I feel like all of a sudden parents are like, it's up to Netflix to not, to parent my kid and not put shows on that make me uncomfortable.
Yes and no.
Or something. That's all.
I would say that
I'm trying to be delicate because I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen the show.
Yeah,
and I have a 5-year-old, so. And
this is one place where I don't necessarily side with the parents, but I have a lot of sympathy for them because way back when there were things that a network could do to communicate. This is not for kids. Like South Park, for example, it's a cartoon about kids, but it's not for kids. And what they did was they put it on at 10 o'clock at night. They gave it a mature rating. They telegraphed several
and these
things.
Netflix shows, they're just there.
Exactly.
You can watch them no matter when you.
So
and
yeah.
And you don't stick these teenagers with like the kiddie profile on Netflix.
Right.
They have access to a lot of things.
Yes. So, So I don't know. We'll see. I hear what you're saying. I hear what the parents are saying. It sounds to me like maybe Netflix, because I've noticed Netflix is kind of opaque in the way that it, sometimes the ratings are not necessarily there. The subject matter about stuff that are not there. Like with HBO or Showtime, this is rated MA, and here are all the elements of why it's rated this.
I think this show is rated TV MA.
It could be. I don't know.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
I just think it's interesting because, I'm sure that these kids are probably also, watching whatever horror movie and things like that. And
maybe
they probably have seen a lot of things. And
maybe.
And I understand we're talking about.
But I also, I do have sympathy for the parents that do.
I do too. That's why I brought it up, because I'm interested. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right.
But I didn't want to end our show on like teen suicide. Don't do it. Like Heather's Big Fun.
Right.
Do you know that? Remember that? Big Fun. So I wanted to mention, do you know anything about the Fire Festival?
No. I've heard about it. And
I put a link that's going to be in our show notes if people want to read some funny stuff. There's some really good tweets about the Fire Festival, which was basically supposed to be like a really exclusive, high-end kind of Coachella that went horribly wrong. And it's really funny.
And neither one of us had the money to go, so we haven't gone. I just want to... because somebody spent all our money for tickets for the Met Gala. But anyway, what are you going to do?
Who would do that?
Lastly, I have a link on our things. Ridley Scott has talked a little bit about Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5 that was supposed to come out a couple years ago. And, I think I've talked on this podcast several times about how, especially actors, but also a lot of people in Hollywood, it's like they'll say somebody's great to work with, or this idea is great, and if anything goes wrong, they'll just be silent about it, or just they'll be very vague and useless. But recently, Ridley Scott is kind of the Kevin Feige of the Alien movies, or at least he is now with Prometheus and the new coming Alien Covenant, and he had something to say about Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5, which was supposed to take place, I think, right after, or not too long after, James Cameron's Alien. It was going to kind of do a Superman Returns with the Alien series, where it cuts out a couple of... It's like another sequel to Alien...
That's what we need.
Aliens. Well, that's the thing, is it cuts out two of the bad sequels and they just kind of forget about them, and this becomes the new sequel to James Cameron's Aliens. But anyway, this is what Ridley Scott had to say. I think it will never see the light. There was never a scenario, just an idea that evolved into a pitch of 10 pages. I had to participate as a producer, but it did not go any further because the Fox decided they did not want to do it. I had already done Prometheus and worked on Covenant. I had to work on it. I had to participate as a producer. That sounds super enthusiastic. So, anyway.
It's going to be really good.
We're going to, at the 20th Century Fox Christmas party this year, when Ridley Scott and Neil Blomkamp are there at the same time, I want to be there. We have a link on our show notes, so you could listen, so you can read this. I just thought it was really funny where Scott seems to be slapping this guy down for playing around in his Aliens sandbox, when Ridley Scott's trying to bring these movies back to, I would say, respectability, but Prometheus, something.
Right.
Didn't live up to a hype. Anyway, Sonia Mansfield, do you have anything else?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Do you have anything else you would like to say before we hit the road?
No. I'll just say goodbye.
Bye!
The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can find Chris at Jet Jurgens and Sonia at The Sonia Show. You can read about Sonia's random adventures at thesoniashow.com, and track the slow and creeping progress of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjurgens.com. You can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com. While you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on iTunes. We have a handy-dandy iTunes link to whisk you right back to 2007, where you can leave your review and 5-star rating in iTunes. We'd do it for your podcast. Want to dork out even more? Well, you can sign up for our newsletter, where you'll get all the headlines we use as fuel for the show. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening.